gamers.com.
I mean, comparing this one to the PlayStation just isn't really fair.
No, because
I mean, first of all, it's using cartridge medium when most of the rest of the generation was using CD.
Yeah, wasn't there another company that went with cartridge medium as well, Ray?
And had a 64-bit system?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo. Look how well that worked for them.
They had a couple wins there. There's still people very obsessive about the Zelda games from that console.
Oh, no, I'm not doubting that they had fantastic games. I mean, I've been a Nintendo fan for a long time. I'm just saying that it hurt them bad. We know how bad the 64 hurt them business-wise.
Right.
I mean, it took them, 2 generations to dig back out.
Alright, well, what do you think? Are we good to move on to the next guy?
Sure, we can move on to the next one. Welcome back, everybody. Today we are taking a look at Pinball Fantasies for the Atari Jaguar. While we're getting ready to have some pinball fun, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Atari Jaguar CD. The Atari Jaguar CD was released in September of '95 and was selling for $150. It snapped on top of the Jaguar into the cartridge slot, and then had a cartridge slot on the back to where you could plug in your regular Jaguar games and not have to keep disconnecting the system. They released a memory track so you could save your CD-based games. It also featured a 2X CD drive and a built-in virtual light machine, which is basically like a screensaver. Like the little flashy lights that go on. Like if you put a Windows Media Player into the color mode. That was written by Jeff Minter of Tempest 2000 fame. It was packed in with 2 games, Blue Lightning and VidGrid, the Tempest 2000 soundtrack, and a missed demo disc. It had a little light show when you turned it on. And it was manufactured by Philips for Atari. They had about 20,000 units initially built. Unfortunately, those were the only ones ever made. So there's only 20,000 of these puppies out there. Because right around the end of '95 was when the reverse takeover happened with JT Storage. So there was only 13 games made for it, and even those are hard to find. Let's just say the Jaguar CD, we had thought about covering it and then realized how difficult and how little bit of an impact it made. So we just thought maybe we would mention it here. How you enjoying this pinball game, Luke?
This pinball game's pretty decent. I mean, the graphics still leave something to be desired, like I was saying with the last game, but it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's pinball.
Yeah.
It'd be like screwing up root beer and being like, here, try this, if they screwed up pinball.
Right. It's kind of hard to screw up pinball.
It is.
I honestly haven't seen a bad pinball game. Now, going back to the launch, the big problem with the Jaguar was the lack of games. Not to mention, this controller isn't the most comfortable thing in the world.
It's kind of bulky.
Just a little bit?
Just a smidge.
Yeah, they needed to have basically a killer Christmas. And they did have a killer Christmas. As in, they barely sold anything.
They killed themselves during Christmas because, well, they weren't making any money.
The system was only on the market for about 2 years. Basically, what happened was the PlayStation came onto the market,
Blew it out of the water.
Atari tucked and ran. I mean, within those 2 years, there were a few good games on it. And it's going to sound repetitive because, honestly, there isn't too much to say about something that only lasted for 2 years. The next thing I'm going to cover is going to be the takeover. Basically, as soon as the reverse takeover from JT Storage happened, they stopped producing Jaguar. They basically tried to push them out through infomercials. They were just trying to basically get rid of everything. They just clearance them out the door. Now what happened after that? JT Storage end up they went to court. I'm gonna have to check a little bit more into that whole court thing. But the properties of Atari Corporation was bought by Hasbro in the late 90s. Hasbro completely released the rights to it. So basically making it an open console. So anyone can make games for it. So there's a cult following now, even to this day, of people making Jaguar games. So if any of you guys are out there watching that, keep up the good work. There were many different ways that they went through to try and clearance the console. There were
Come on now, Ray.
places in the UK that even in 2007 were still selling Jaguars. Dirt cheap, but they were still selling Jaguars.
And what was the stat you said for how many they actually put out?
It's kind of foggy from what I've seen, but it's looking like under 250,000 of them were actually made and sold. It sounds like they made 250,000 and then hoping that they sold them all. You know what probably happened to them? They probably ended up in that same landfill.
Yeah.
The one where E.T.'s buried.
Phone home.
Yeah, all the extra E.T. cartridges out in New Mexico.
Right.
For more on that, watch our Console Wars of the Past on the Atari 2600. They also used the Atari Jaguar's chipset for some of the arcade games. Atari Games went ahead and used some of theirs, since, remember, Atari Games and Atari Corp were different companies at that point. So the Jaguar is actually responsible for games like Area 51. So some good things did come out of the Jaguar.
Didn't the Jaguar also have a couple other decent titles like Alien vs. Predator and Doom and Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein, Doom. There were some decent first-person shooters. We'll actually be taking a look at one of those today. We'll be taking a look at Wolfenstein 3D. There was a Doom port for it that was one of the better ones. The only thing that was really missing from the Doom port was it was lacking music.
Ooh, that sounds kind of terrible.
It was graphically good.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it just had the, it kind of had that whole creepy vibe to it. Where it felt less run and gun and more like you're trapped in the dark. Kind of more Resident Evil feel.
That sounds entertaining, though.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of it, it looked good.
And then it had Alien vs. Predator as well?
Yes. Alien vs. Predator, who we were talking about with Rebellion.
Oh, right.
So, there were some decent games on it. That's about all we can say as far as that goes. Well, treasure.
Yes.
Apparently you found treasure.
From a well, no less.
Wait, was Timmy down there?
I think. I hope.
Did you save him? No, you hit him in the head with a ball.
Yeah, I did. This is the scary stage. You didn't know?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what you're supposed to do.
Oh, yeah. You are. There is death behind you there. But yeah, I mean, the Jaguar was a commercial failure. There's no way to deny it. I mean, this system sunk Atari. And this is the same company that made the 5200.
Right, which wasn't exactly their best call either, but
Yeah.
it was definitely better than this guy.
Yeah. So, it kind of says something when you sink a company that didn't get sunk by the 5200.
Right. And I think I've sunk myself with this game, so let's move on.
Moving on.
Alright.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a look at Zool 2.
Zool kinda sounds evil, and the guy that we're looking at here kinda looks like he's like, you know, like he'd want to try and do me damage.
No, this brought to us by Gremlin.
By Gremlin?
Yes.
Gremlin's the developer, really?
Yeah, and it's based on the name of a, Ghostbusters enemy.
Ah, I see.
Remember Zool?
Yes.
Now, hopefully, if we
And
we don't think of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man while we're doing this.
right. But I don't think that's so much a concern because I see that Chupa Chups are the lollipop company
Yeah.
are sponsoring this.
Yeah, it's officially licensed by Chupa Chups.
How weird is that? I miss those lollipops though.
They were delicious.
They were tasty. Although I don't know that I'm too fond of the game that we're playing today.
Well, maybe they're taking a page out of the old Atari book, where you get everyone that owns some sort of property to make a game for you, which is how we got Kool-Aid Man, by the way.
Just what is it that you want to do?
We're gonna have a good time.
DJGamers.com.